It is a joy for me to welcome my dear friend, colleague, and esteemed Rabbi Brous, who's going to come right now. She is the Rabbi Sharon Brous from ICAR, and also one of the pledge ladies. One of our leaders with LA Boys, so come on, y'all, let's give it up as Rabbi Sharon Brous comes and shares a brief reflection for us. Come on, let's show us some love.
Good evening. Thank you so much to Pastor Sauls and to all of you for being here tonight. We've had this date on the calendar for a long time. We've been thinking and dreaming and imagining of what this night might look like. I don't think that any of us imagined the brokenness and the pain that we would experience even as we gather here tonight as the streets of Baltimore burns. I want to start there in order to honor the struggle that's happening not only in this city, but in cities around this country. And I want to address it by way of telling you my favorite story, a story written by the rabbis nearly 2,000 years ago, a story of a group of passengers who went out onto the sea in a boat. One of them takes out a drill and starts to drill beneath his seat. And when he does, all the other passengers look to him and say, "What are you doing, dude? You're going to sink the boat." And he says to them, "Why are you getting so upset? I'm just drilling underneath my own seat." I want to tell you why this story matters tonight more than ever. Because tonight we are here to connect the dots. We have been reading articles for the last couple of days about how middle-class families fled to the suburbs over the course of the last several decades, about how in Baltimore there was job attrition and a poor economy, how children have been recruited to sell drugs, how the homes left in the city have led paint in them, how predatory lenders have been targeting the black community in that neighborhood, how homes have been vacated and foreclosed, how there's been deadly street violence and mass incarceration, and all kinds of brutality. We've read about Frederick Douglass High School right in the heart of Baltimore, where 99% of the students are people of color and 83% of them are economically disadvantaged. We've read about a principal who was convicted for stealing $2 million from a program that was designed to give meals to hungry kids in his own school. And we've heard the President of the United States say that it was more likely that those kids would end up in jail or dead than that they would go to college. I want to repeat the words that I hope many of us heard the President say. If we are serious about solving this problem, we need to not only address the issue with the police, but we need to think about what the rest of us can do. How we have to provide early education, how we have to reform the criminal justice system so that there's no longer a pipeline from schools to prison, so that we're not rendering men unemployable by a felony record for nonviolent drug offenses. How we have to make investments into training and jobs. Do you want to solve this problem? If we want to solve this problem, the President said it will require every one of us saying that this is important, and not only paying attention when a CVS is burning, and not only paying attention when young men are shot or their spines are snapped, but paying attention all the time, because all of the kids of this country are our kids. And that's where the hole in the boat comes in. The hole in the boat comes in when we recognize that the only way that this is fixed is when we realize that it's all of our problem. When we say this is a Ferguson problem or this is a Baltimore problem, we perpetuate the problem. When we say this is a black problem, not a white problem, we perpetuate the problem. When we say it's an urban problem and not a suburban problem, we perpetuate the problem. Because there's a dirty little secret, which is that the whole broken system thrives when each one of us believes it's not my problem. The only way that Freddie Gray and Eric Garner and Michael